Hi, everybody. Continuing on with the 2024 changes that the Georgia Association of Realtors has made to the contract package. I'm Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors and the director of the Real Estate Academy of America. Please see the links below for all the other videos in this series and subscribe so you don't miss any. Also, for further explanations and handouts of everything, please take one of our free CE classes on the 2024 GAR contract changes, Georgia Association of Realtors. I will link the calendar below. We are teaching these in December of 2023 and continuing on into January 2024. Variety of locations and virtually. But today, let's continue on. And the next form that I want to cover is the seller's property disclosure exhibit, and that is GAR, Georgia Association of Realtors, Form F301. And I will let you know there is one change that is consistent with F302, which is the shorter version or seller's disclosure of latent defects and fixtures checklist exhibit. Woo, that's a mouthful. All right, so let's first talk about F301, seller's property disclosure. The first thing that GAR did is in paragraph A, which is where it does talk about how the instructions to the seller completing this exhibit. What they have done is just a very minor change in paragraph 1. Paragraph 1 is the section where it talks about how the seller, instructions to the seller in completing this exhibit. And basically they just they labeled everything that the seller does as quote unquote knowledge so that they can use that term throughout the remainder of the exhibit to reference how the seller had filled it out. Now, a little bit more substantial change that GAR has made to paragraph B, this is paragraph 1B, under how this statement should be used by a buyer. One of the things they added at the end, it talks about how the seller's property disclosure statement should be used by the buyer. It does remind a buyer that Georgia is a caveat emptor state, meaning that the burden is on the buyer to completely check out the property and make sure that it does satisfy their needs before going on with the closing. But one of the actual verbiage that GAR has put in for 2024 at the end of paragraph B, it does state, in other words, if a seller answers no to a question, it means the seller has no knowledge whether such conditions exist on the property. As such, the seller's answers should not be taken as a warranty or a guarantee of the accuracy of such answers, nor a substitute for a buyer doing its own due diligence. So again, that's just sort of to highlight some action or encourage the buyer. You do need to take action in because Georgia is a caveat emptor state. Now, a couple of other questions that GAR has added to some of the checklists for a seller to complete. Under the paragraph about systems and components, there is a whole new question where the seller fills out their knowledge about various systems and components, a whole new subsection that says, are there any remotely accessed thermostats, lighting systems, security camera, video doorbells, locks, appliances, etc. servicing this property? This is a question because of the times we are living in now with all of these smart technology systems that owners are adding to their homes. It is disclosing to a new buyer about some of these new cool technologies. Additionally, under the flooding, draining, and moisture section, GAR has added an additional question or additional part to the question about, so the existing part is there now or has there been any water intrusion into the basement crawl space? Here's what they added, or other interior parts of any dwelling or garage. And then also for 2024, GAR has added, or damage therefrom from the exterior. Likewise, have any repairs been made to control water intrusion into the basement crawl space or other interior parts or any dwelling or garage from the exterior? Additionally, a new question under the paragraph regarding soil and boundaries, GAR has added, are there any shared improvements which benefit or burden the property, including but not limited to a shared dock, septic system, well, driveway, alleyway, or private road? So they finally added some of these shared parts of a property. And they've further clarified part of an existing question. Are there presently any encroachments, unrecorded easements? And they've added unrecorded agreements regarding shared improvements or boundaries in dispute with a neighboring property owner. And then continuing on under the section under the fixtures checklist, and this change GAR also made consistent with that shorter form F302, the seller's disclosure of latent defects and fixtures checklist. They have separated out all that information. There was a huge paragraph to the buyer and the seller regarding the fixtures checklist and what was staying and what was going, so forth and so on. So GAR has actually just separated out those paragraphs to make it a little bit easier to understand, and they've modified the language just a little bit for clarification for our public buyers and sellers. So now, instead of it all being one big massive paragraph, paragraph D, it's still under paragraph D, but now there are subparagraphs. So D number 1 is directions on how to generally fill out the fixtures checklist. Paragraph 2 is items not remaining with the property. And paragraph 3 is items remaining with the property. And again, there's, it got dark. There is just more information about how the parties are to use that information and understand what the seller's intentions are in completing that document. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, subscribe so you don't miss any of these changes that I'm going to cover. And I am Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, satisfying your needs with service, innovation, and education. Bye. If you like that video, check out the one here. If you like the content on this entire channel, please click here to subscribe. I try to take even the most complicated of real estate situations and make them crystal clear. See what I did there? Real estate made crystal clear. Thank you guys so much for watching.